My name's Rob Lane and I'm the housemaster of Loveday. Normally I'd be welcoming you to one of our welcome mornings on a Saturday where you can come and meet me and have a look around the house, but we're doing things a bit differently at the moment. All of the houses at Cranleigh have a very similar ethos, but it's probably the buildings that are the most different.
I have a bias towards East, of course I do, because I'm the housemaster, but it's worth reiterating, wherever you go, you are part of the Cranleigh ethos and the Cranleigh family, and you will love it here.
When the girls come in, it's really important that they feel welcomed. We want to make a really positive start. For some girls, that is difficult, leaving home for the first time and boarding. So we're really sensitive to that. There is no sort of tough love, really, that we want to be as supportive as we possibly can be. So if somebody is homesick, then talking to the older students, finding out how they dealt with it is really important. To be honest, to be a little bit vulnerable, because our door is open all through the night as well as through the day. So if somebody's struggling at night, that's okay. You can come and knock on our door. We're just at the end of one of the corridors and we'll be there for you.
So right from the get-go, the fourth form will feel as welcome as any year group, and there's none of that sort of old school pecking order that boarding schools were plagued by in the 20th century. I think we've moved on from that and we are a nicer house for it. So the sixth form are fantastic as big brothers. They're really caring, and in speaking to them when they apply for some of the prefect roles, many of them talk about the great time they had as a fourth former and how they want to pass that on and make the juniors feel as welcome as they were when they started in East. And that, you know, that feeds back in on itself, which is a wonderful thing to have.
It's a really different place, senior school to prep school. There's lots that changes, and so they spend the first couple of weeks kind of getting their heads around what's different, being in a bigger school, but they very quickly feel like they've been here forever and that they don't feel new. I think particularly what I really like is within a few weeks we forget what prep schools they've all come from, because they're all just one unit as the fourth form in Rhodes, and I think that's really, really special. So the fourth form, the year 9s don't have mobile phones when they first arrive at Cranleigh. For the first year, they leave them at home. It's made a really significantly positive impact on the students. It's really, really helpful that when they are looking at screens together, it's often in a much more communal way than it used to be. So when they're using their iPads, it's often to show each other things or to look at something together. Generally, they're looking down a lot less than they were before and are looking up at each other and doing things that they should be doing at that age, and chatting and getting to know each other and making new friends.
In West, we have the girls in families, they're called, and we'll have a girl from the fourth form, lower fifth, lower sixth, upper fifth as well. So we have the whole spectrum represented within a family within house. And the girls absolutely love that. It just gives them some different perspectives on things. It might be the girl in the year above who's just been through those exams or really struggled with doing art, or really struggled with not knowing which team they were on and really wanting to be on a particular team. And just to have someone who's been through that before recently talk to them about that it's invaluable. And it also just means it has that sense of bigger sisters in the house. You feel like there's girls, you feel much more like you're part of a family, because it's a bit more normal to have in a family girls of different ages.
Okay, so for the fourth form, the day starts quite early, so they will need to be up and dressed and ready for breakfast, which is served at 7:05. In older year groups, it then goes a little bit later. There'll be a call over where in normal times we'd all get together, start the day in a really positive way, taking registers, giving notices, that sort of thing. On some days there'll be chapel in the morning where there's a time for reflection. That is so helpful just to start the day on a peaceful, calm note. Then we're straight into lessons, hive of activity there. And then the bees swarm to the honey pot for toast at break. So it's a busy day, back into lessons, followed by lunch, afternoon, more lessons, but also then activities. A whole range of things can happen then. Sport, CCF, voluntary service, there are all sorts of options for the girls to choose from. Supper is around 6 o'clock, and then they have some social time before coming into the house for prep, a time of quiet study. After that, we want to do as many socials as we can, so getting groups of girls together, whether that is in their year group, having a hot chocolate with matron and just chilling at the end of the day. It might be as part of their family. Each girl, as they come into the house, joins a family. Those are headed up by our sixth formers, the upper sixth, and they are fabulous because they are such a wealth of information, but they're also a listening ear, they're supportive, they're kind. When you don't want to go to a teacher, there is somebody else there to help you out and maybe give a little bit of advice.
So the house forms really the hub of the boys' existence at Cranleigh. So it's where they sleep, it's where they eat, it's where they change, it's where they keep all their stuff. And really it's also probably where they will make their strongest friendships. So throughout the working day, they go off to their lessons, they'll go off to the sports pitches and activities and things from there. But actually the house is always the central place where they'll come back to. So it's that constant thread right at the centre of their Cranleigh existence. So Cubit is very logical in terms of the way it works its boarding. So we start in a dorm of 4. Normally, depending on the boarding and day ratio, we normally have 3 boarders and 1 day student in the room. And every year they go up through the house, they in effect lose a mate. So they go from dorms of 4, then down to 3, 2 when they're doing their GCSEs, and then by the time they're in the sixth form, they're in a single study. And every half term, we make sure that all of the dorms get spun round. Now the key thing for me about the dorms is that it helps develop that basic principle of respect. Respect for people who are different, respect for different characters. And we as house staff have control of who shares the rooms. So particularly in that first year, they will share for half a term with every single other boy in the house. Now that means that over the course of their first year, they will have got to know everybody in their year group. Inevitably, there'll be some of their friends that they get on with better than others. Inevitably, there'll be a few boys that they actually feel, well, he's never going to be my best mate. But part of being in a boarding house, part of that sense of respect, knowing and judging how to live alongside people who are different. And the boarding house and the dorms particularly is crucial in helping the boys develop that life skill. And then by the time they've got through that first year, as they move up through the school, we're seeking to build that sense of independence, that sense of responsibility. So it's only right that as they go up, they get a little bit more of age-appropriate responsibility. So hence, they go into pairs when they're in the GCSE year, making sure they've got the space in the environment where when they've got the pressure of GCSEs, they can close the door, get their heads in the books and really focus on giving their all to their exams. And then obviously by the time they're 16, 17 in the lower sixth, it's only right that the boys should have a bit more privacy as they get ready to head off to university.
So in the house we have a number of different social spaces based around activities really. So we have the table tennis table, the pool table, there's a TV room that the boys can use at the end of the day in some of their downtime. And there are really key social spaces like matron's room, which is very much meant to be like the hub of the house and the kitchen at home really. Matrons are absolutely key to what we do in the house. They are here all day, every day, and they can help the boys with pretty much anything, but they mainly run all of the laundry stuff and the housekeeping and all medical matters. and they're a great sounding board for the boys and a great port of call if they've got questions or they want to chat about something or they're worried about something. They also spoil the boys rotten with hot chocolate and treat nights and biscuits, and it's usually got a really great atmosphere in matron's room with all the different year groups in there. In the evening we run prep for an hour and a half. That is when the house is incredibly quiet, all the boys are in their room. Lots of the doors are propped open so that they can be monitored and supervised by myself, one of my tutor team, and the prefects as well. And they sit down, they do an hour and a half's worth of work. And for some of them, that's enough to get all their work done. But for others, they also have to work at other points in the day and start to manage themselves a little bit more, especially by the time they get into the sixth form. And they do all of that again in the house. So the house ends up being really the hub of their school day. They start off here. They go off and do some lessons, they'll come back at break time, change over their books, go and see matron, grab some biscuits, and head off to more lessons. They'll come back at lunchtime, then maybe get changed and go and do an activity, then come back from that, get changed and go and do some sport, then come back and have some social time and then do some work. So they're constantly toing and froing from the house throughout the whole part of the day, which means we get lots of contact with them and get to interact with them and chat to them about how their day's going, and they get an opportunity to then come and share their successes, but equally to stick their hand up and say, I'm struggling, and then we can help.
One of the best things that Cranleigh has brought in recently is more of affiliation within houses. So we're currently affiliated to East. They are literally next door to us, their building joins onto us, and it allows the girls and boys to have that affiliation. So we do a lot of house events together, sporting and academic, to allow them to spend time together. But we also do spend time with the boys and other houses, not just the boys, in the evening. So we do things like little socials with ice creams or just little parties to get them together. It's a way to make sure that they spend time with girls from other houses, boys from other houses, as normal, as you would in a normal life.
North House is affiliated with West, and we've had that affiliation running for quite a long time now. And it's fantastic that we are twinned with the Girls' House. What we have done in recent years is we've actually run some charity events together and some social events for the parents and the boys and the girls. But not only that, we regularly have inter-years competitions with the girls' houses, and also we have social nights with West quite regularly.
My name is SJ. It stands for Sarah Jane, but everybody calls me SJ. I'm matron in South. Of course, we can't replace the children's mums, but we are, as I say, a soft place to land. The girls are so lovely, and you know, if they're having a challenging day, it's just a matter of picking them up, brushing them down, and you know, sorting them out. There's often one or two girls who aren't used to being away from home and feel a little bit unsettled. Often you find that homesick children are saying, I'm loving my time at Cranleigh, I just miss home. And that's very easy to overcome. The houses are very much families, and it's lovely. It's really, really very homely here. And they're very proud of their houses. And loyal, and it's a really good atmosphere.
The homeschool partnership is so important, and it's what we pride ourselves on. As a weekly boarding school, the contact we have as teachers with home is regular. I know all of my East parents by Christian name, and I think that speaks volumes for the kind of culture we have here at school. That's remember 102 boys, so you're looking at double the number of parents. It's a lot of interaction, and it is regular. What we try and encourage from the boys though is self-reliance. What we don't want are students who, as a first port of call, will get in touch with home if there's a problem. We want the boys in East to sort out their problems for themselves and speak to their teachers about it.
So the best thing I think that we do for families to try and make the connection between home and school is that we try to do everything we can to keep the communication open and often. So it's sometimes quite hard for parents who drop their little girls off for their first experience at a big school such as this. And so we touch base with them regularly, but they also have a team around them. So they have a tutor, as well as myself and the deputy and the assistant, and also the matrons. And so they have communication from all of us at different points of the day and week to allow them to ask any questions that they need. Parents are encouraged to get in touch with their tutor for academics, but encouraged to get in touch with me for everything else. So we try to make sure that we can get them in if we can for drinks and socials so that they see what their daughters are getting up to, but also they can call anytime or email anytime, and we'll give them any advice that they need to help the partnership between us work together. So communication is always key between home and school.
If a parent has a concern, they'll either go to the housemistress or the deputy housemistress, or they may even, just pick up the phone to matron and say, actually, can I come in, have a chat? Or they might email us, say, just a bit worried, somebody's a bit wobbly. So there's always someone in-house to talk to.
Run a mentoring system throughout the school in North House, in which the boys in the upper six and in the fourth form are supporting each other, and all of our upper six are prefects and do duties throughout the house.
When the girls move into the sixth form, we try and give them a bit more in terms of responsibility and leadership. So I think they feel very much part of a team with the house staff and the matrons, looking after the younger girls and leading by example. It's really important, I think. And I know for a fact that the younger girls really value having the older girls to listen to them, to support them, but also as role models. And it's all very well asking the younger girls to listen to us and our advice, but I think sometimes teenagers can see adults as being a little bit outdated and not really quite knowing what's going on. Whereas when the sixth form are talking to them, they're much more in tune with that and much more able to take on that wisdom and advice from those girls.
I saw it this morning, and when the sixth form was saying, how are you getting on to a fourth year? It was just really sweet, and I thought you wouldn't get that everywhere.
The two things I really want for the girls in Rhodes are to leave ready to face the world independently, knowing their own voice. I want the girls in my boarding house to be able to speak up about what they believe in, and to know that they're valued for whoever they are and the beliefs that they hold, and to be able to articulate those in a kind but way in which they feel empowered and have a really good understanding of themselves.
Martlet girls are the girls they want to be. If you want to be an artist, you can be an artist. If you want to be a musician, you can be a musician. But if you want to be 4 or 5 different things, we also do that. So it's all about being yourself and supporting each other with that journey.
What is lovely to see is that over the 5 years, you'll see the boys develop and change and grow as individuals. And that's one thing we try and really develop here. So in the first year, we try and have lots of supportive measures in place and lots of help and guidance. And as we go through, we keep those things in place, but also allow the boys to develop independence and become leaders. And what is amazing is that when I look back at the end of their upper 6th year, their house prayers, when I talk about all the boys as they leave, is look back at their 5 years and actually how much they've changed and developed. And that's one of the real pros of Cranleigh School, is how we see and how we develop and how we help the boys go through.
When your daughters leave in 5 years' time, I will be crying my eyes out to say goodbye to them, because they'll have grown into these beautiful, poised passionate, intelligent, creative young women. So all their skills and talents and abilities and the creativity about them that you see when they're in the fourth form, they just develop and grow, and it's really amazing to watch. And I think the biggest change is that you see them valuing themselves and having a real sense of self-worth, because as their parents and as their house staff, we know just how special these girls are. And yet teenagers, it takes so long for them to get to know who they are. And as you watch that happen, and as you watch them have a real sense of security and confidence in themselves, it's an absolutely fantastic process to watch.
So there are some ways in which coronavirus has been a real challenge for boarding, and I think I've been really proud working at Cranleigh how amazingly well I think the senior management team have dealt with all that coronavirus has thrown at us, just like it is for every industry and sector. For me, I think some of the things I'm really missing that coronavirus has impacted on is that inter-year mixing. However, the real positive has been, I think, the year groups themselves have become even stronger as units because they're forced to spend more time together and forced to kind of get over some of those little niggles that you have as a teenager. Everyone has them, and so I think actually that's been a real positive.